Scherzer smokes one to deep left center. Forget that. That is way out of here. Pete Alonso gives the Mets the lead with his 6th home run of the year.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Shea Station podcast. It's episode 156. The Mets have gotten their redemption. They welcomed the Padres back to town. They went 0 for 3 in their series against them last year, but they kick off 2023 with a 2 out of 3 victory against the San Diego Padres. Bad memories have been erased for the most part, and the Mets look great in most of these games. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jack, aka Jolly. Joining me is Jerry Blevins. Jerry, how are you feeling 13 games into the season with a winning record?
Good. This was a good test, this Padres series. They got to Darvish. The only thing missing from full redemption is Mr. Musgrove himself.
I know, he wasn't here.
Yeah, so that's still on the to-do list, I'm sure, for a lot of guys. But it was a good test. Freaking Pete Alonso is amazing.
Monster.
All 3 starters had a good outing, so it was good. I feel good about where we are. I would love for another power bat. It is what it is. If Alvarez is the guy, if he's not ready, we'll talk about it, I'm sure. But I'm worried if Lindor or Pete ever has a significant time off.
Yeah.
So. But I like the team. I think the bullpen has been solid, yet maybe unsustainably good because of how many innings they've chewed up. But Max looked really good. I think he's back on track. Peterson was throwing strikes and looked the best start, as you noted, his best start of the year. And then McGill looked comfortable and excited and, very positive.
Yeah. Hey everyone, just got to briefly interrupt this episode to tell you guys about today's sponsor, which is the DraftKings Sportsbook. Guys, baseball season is underway. It's in full swing, and whether you're rooting for the home team or just your favorite player on the field, the best betting is going on right now at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on a pregame moneyline bet and get $150 in bonus bets if that bet cashes. Spread that money on some same-game parlays, combine a bunch of teams for the day that you think are going to win, or some players to get a hit or take a walk in a game. Pretty much anything you can think of, you can combine into a parlay and get an even bigger payout at the end of the day. Go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. It's free and easy to use. Use our code SHEA, S-H-E-A, bet $5 on a pregame moneyline bet and get $150 in bonus bets if that bet cashes. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code SHEA. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Any resources you might need for a gambling problem or gambling addiction are listed down below as always. Thank you guys, and thank you DraftKings for sponsoring this episode. And now back to the episode of Shea Station. 3 good starts. Bullpen did their thing with the parts that we still have left. And the guys who are the stars got it done at the plate. There's definitely lineup conversations to have. There are kid conversations to have with the ones that are up and the ones that are down. And we're going to get into all of it. Do you want me to tell you what happened this series, Jerry?
I do. Give me that recap.
I'm going to fly through it. Just watch me. All right. The Mets welcome the Padres to town. They just took a series from the Marlins, trying to finish this homestand strong. They go into game 1 with kind of the vaunted matchup, Max Scherzer versus Yu Darvish part 2. Part 1 did not go our way, but it was looking good in part 2. Early on in the 3rd, Jeff McNeil swinging first pitch, doubles one down the line to get 2 runs home off Darvish, more than the Mets scored against him in that wild card series, which we love to see. Max Scherzer looked good in the start, definitely labored at times. A lot of heavy pitch innings, 98 pitches through 5 innings on this one. They ultimately pull him before the 6th, so that final line looks pretty good. He allowed only the 1 hit on 3 walks, no earned runs allowed, 6 strikeouts, 97 pitches, 12 whiffs. Max, when he was at his best and needed his best pitch, got the job done and gave the Mets a chance to win, which is really what you can ask for there, and hopefully he can build on it from here. Later on in the 7th inning, the Mets rallied to put up 3 more runs. It was an Escobar sacrifice fly, and Lindor coming through with a key insurance hit, a 2-run double off Tim Hill. And this was the story of 2 squibs that kind of just went the Mets' way. A beautiful Guillorme bunt, Nito kind of just topping one down the third baseline. It kind of felt like the game was in the Mets' hands once those 2 balls stayed on the line and stayed fair. The Mets bullpen definitely did their part too. 4 innings pitched, no earned runs, 1 hit, 8 strikeouts from John Curtis, Drew Smith, D-Rob, and Ottavino to get the job done. Ottavino with a little mellow at the end, which I loved. Mets win 5-0. Little signature. Come on, get with it. Going into game two, feeling good, feeling hot. The Mets load the bases in the first inning with nobody out. The Mets are going to sweep the Padres. Here we go. Revenge tour is on. Then they fail to score. Okay, back to earth. Peterson and Weathers, they're going to duel through the first 4 innings of this game. Canna gets a sacrifice fly to break the ice. Manny Machado, though, later on gets a 2-run double to spoil David Peterson's spotless outing thus far. Still a great outing for him, though. 5 2/3 innings, 2 earned runs, 6 hits, 6 strikeouts, only 2 walks. We love that from David Peterson. Keep the walks down, throw strikes. He got 10 whiffs in this game on 89 pitches. Denny Reyes, how about him? An inning and a third out of relief. Brooks Raley, they combine for 7 outs of scoreless relief to keep the Mets in the game. The Mets get 2 on with 1 out in the 8th inning. They don't score. Lindor strikes out. Another tough rally cut short. Buck kind of has a tough bullpen decision on his hands. He goes with Dennis Santana in the 9th. It does bite him. He gives up a 2-run homer to Xander Bogaerts, and it hurts especially because the Mets go on to score against Josh Hader in the bottom half of that inning. An RBI single from Tommy Pham. They have 2 runners on for Nito. He grounds out. Francisco Alvarez comes up with a chance to tie the game with a single. Josh Hader does not throw him a single strike, but he goes down swinging anyway. The moment was a little big for the 21-year-old catcher. The Mets lose 4-2. Heading into the rubber match, Juan Soto puts one beyond Shea Bridge off Tyler McGill. Things are looking bad early on with the series almost in the Mets' hands from the night before. It's 2-0 Padres in game 3. They load the bases again in the first, this time with 1 out, and they fail to score. Things are looking pretty dire, but Brandon Nimmo bails them out in the second inning with a double, a ball that probably should have been caught from either Juan Soto or Trent Grisham, who was over there for some reason. Either way, the Mets will take it. It's a 2-1 game. Francisco Lindor decides to tie it with his second home run of the year off Blake Snell. Pete Alonso gives them the lead with an absolute moonshot that Blake Snell had a really funny excuse for after the game that I definitely want to talk about. But first, Tyler McGill settled in after a shaky first inning. 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, just the 1 home run for him. He settles in, gives the Mets a chance to win. The Mets load the bases in the 6th inning with nobody out. Nito hits into a double play. It looks like the same story again, but Brandon Nimmo clutches up, punches one through the right side to give the Mets some insurance. And the Mets bullpen, they walk a tightrope in this game, but they ultimately get it done. 4 shutout innings and 4 strikeouts from Smith, Raley, Robertson, and Ottavino. Raley passed it to Smith. Smith passed it to Robertson. Robertson looked great in this outing, got the big lefties out, and then Adam Ottavino seals the save in the 9th. Multi-hit games for Alonso, Pham, and Nimmo. McNeil draws 3 walks. It's all looking Mets later in this game. They win 5-2. They take the series 2-1, and they are 7-6 on the year.
Good job. Nice recap. I didn't catch Blake Snell's postgame. What did he say?
So I don't know if you saw the clip of him showing the pitch com to the camera and then kind of tossing it away. He was fed up with his pitch com. Apparently,
I didn't see that.
He wanted to call for a 2-seamer and hit slider by accident, and the comms between him and his catcher were messed up. So he decided instead that he was going to throw a fastball down the middle instead of taking an automatic ball. And then it got crushed by maybe the best home run hitter in baseball right now. I would have taken the ball instead of giving the team a run, but I'm neither here nor there. What do I know?
Hey, there's frustration, and I've been there where, like, when you throw a pitch without conviction, it always hurts you. Like, it's 100% gonna get blasted. So
yeah,
I'll have to go back and look at it. But Pete crushed that, dude. Pete is locked in.
What is it, man? What's different?
He's making them pitch to him, and he's understanding that where he is in the order and who he is, they're going to have to be careful. So he's picking his pitch where he wants it, and if he's not getting it, he'll take his walks. It's
right.
Incredible, and when he does swing, he's not missing. So
yeah,
he's locked in.
We got a small sample size, but walk rates are up for Lindor, Alonso, and McNeil. And we talked a lot about, like, you can pitch around these guys without a lot of insurance behind them. But there's also great value to just taking the walks when you get them. McNeil with 3 walks in the last game. That's very not Jeff McNeil at all. Why pitch to the batting champ if he's just going to get a hit off you? But when they're swinging, they're making it count. It's cool.
That's and again, that's huge for McNeil. If he can add the dimension of making pitchers throw strikes into his game, which he's very capable of doing, he's gonna climb another level, I think. But I am a little worried about Lindor's strikeout rate.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
lot.
it's a lot. It's a lot. He's been swinging and missing a lot. But he's also crushing and playing great defense. So it's not like he's a black hole in the middle of the order. He's doing great. But it is a little concerning.
His line is really interesting because this series he was great. He went 3 for 10, a double, home run, 3 RBI, 6 strikeouts in 3 games, and he has at least 2 strikeouts in each of his last 5 games. So yeah, the whiff rate is definitely there for sure.
Yeah, but he's capitalizing. So and then Nemo's awesome, dude. Nemo, you know,
Looked great in the last game.
God, yeah, he looked great. Taking his big hacks when he needs it, driving the ball, hitting lefties, taking his walks, stealing bags.
I was gonna
Like
ask you, like we were anti Nimmo stealing, and
last,
now I don't know, man. I'm kind
it
of into
looks.
it.
I am very into it. I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit of a roll of the dice with him health wise, but he's figured out how to slide head first. He looks comfortable in his lead. He's getting better jumps. It's something that it wasn't natural to him that he's worked at, like defense. He
Yep.
looks great stealing bags. So if we can get him to make room, get into scoring position after a walk with Marte and behind you, like another dimension. So it has been an unsuccessful attempts for the first part of his career, but now he looks good doing it.
Jerry, I think the Mets might just be like a fast team. Like I don't know if I like slept on the speed, but like everyone's still like Tommy Pham has 2 steals. I had that like as a season long total, not 2 weeks into the season. Come on, that's crazy. Tim
Yeah.
LaCastro,
Well,
Nemo,
this is what you got to do if you don't have another bopper in your lineup,
yeah.
and so I love it, man. And this is LaCastro's not even playing much, and he's still, speed is still a factor. So it's nice, especially for an old ass team like the New York Mets to see
Hey, the
speed be
old
on their
men can
side.
run. How about that? Their knees don't hurt. How about that? McNeil
They
got a
just ice
steal.
them.
Yeah, so there's a ton of love between the starting pitching. The bullpen had 2 great games. Lindor and P came up with big hits, and there are negative things to talk about, but I think I want to keep it on the plus side definitely early in the show. Where do you want to jump to?
I want to jump to Max Scherzer because I
Ooh,
think I am very optimistic with what I've seen from him.
yeah.
It seemed like he turned a corner in that third inning. I think it was the third inning. He started trusting his fastball in the zone. He didn't have the same velo, but he was getting swings and misses on the fastball in the strike zone at 91, 92, up to 94. And it had that late life. Like the
Mm.
velo's not there, and I think he'll build up to that. But it's coming out. It has life. He's getting that extension. And then from that, he'll get the chase on the breaking balls because I think he was worried about his fastball in the zone. And he said something post game after a start. He's like, it's nice to know I'm not broken.
Right.
Some of the problems I had before, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. He realized that he still knows how to pitch. He's still, Max Scherzer. So I think 5 shutout innings and only 1 hit. Uh, it doesn't look as pretty as it is with the 3 walks, but I think that last half of dominance is going to carry over for his next, 4 or 5 starts, whatever the case may be. Because I'm very impressed, and especially moving forward with Max.
I think you nailed it in the fact that it doesn't look pretty, but it was incredibly important because, he was sitting 93 on the fastball. Most of the whiffs came off the slider and the changeup. But I think it was just kind of a confidence boost because one more bad start and basically the entire month of April can get away from Max Scherzer here. And even if it's just 5, which, we're used to seeing Max bulldog his way deep into games and get stronger as the innings go on, these 5 innings were important against a really good offense, against an offense that had opportunities to score when they were at the top of their lineup, which is easily their biggest strength because the top half clearly outweighs the bottom half of the Padres lineup. Max was able to get big outs against Soto, against Manny Machado, against Xander Bogaerts, and I think that itself is a huge confidence boost.
Yeah, and I think uh, moving forward, 5 shutout innings is not going to be satisfactory.
Right.
I think he's going to need to start going deeper. I think he will. I honestly feel like he took a major leap like in those mid innings because I think he had so many full counts, like 7 or even more than that. That's why his
Right.
pitch count got up. But I think he realized halfway through, like, oh yeah, I could do this. And then I think he was going to go into the 6th, but Aaron Nola fought off some really good pitches and had like a
Right.
12 pitch at bat, ended his night. But again, very positive signs.
No, across the board. And I think if you want to talk about positive signs from a starting pitcher, we also got to talk about David Peterson, who maybe needed a good outing more than Max Scherzer did, because while Max Scherzer has been struggling, Max Scherzer is not going to get booted from the rotation once Justin Verlander's back. Peterson, is a candidate for that right now. It's kind of between him and Carlos Carrasco, if we're being honest with ourselves. And he came out, and that slider finally looked great. I think he looked more confident with his fastball. And, the 2 walks, obviously, you look at that and you say, wow, that's a much better outing. I mean, he was 1 out away from 6 shutout innings against the team that made it to the NLCS last year. That's a huge moment.
Yeah, I think it was. I needed to see it, and I didn't think I needed to see it because I do like, and I'm a big David Peterson fan.
Right.
But what I saw from him, I was like, okay, like Machado got him for a double. Like
Yeah.
Machado is
I'm like kind of a good
incredible.
pitch. Like that wasn't a bad pitch. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like sometimes you just got to tip your cap. Machado's one of the best hitters in the game from the right side.
Right.
But very positive from Peterson. I like what I saw. Like another very for the first rotation, first 2 times through the rotation. Every start was like, oh boy, what are we going to
Yeah.
get? Because you had Scherzer get lit up in the 6th 2 times. You had Peterson all over the place. You had McGill all over the place the first round, but had good defense behind him in Miami. And you had the question mark then Singa, who got out of a jam in the first, but like he's been solid, and Carrasco has been very subpar. And so all 3 of these starts were very positive signs and more of like a big sigh of relief
Yeah.
to see all 3 guys kind of click at the same time.
Yeah, they each kind of conquered their own thing, with Max kind of putting up a 0, David Peterson not running up the walk total, and then Tyler McGill just keeping composure after a really early first home run that went a long, long way. Like Juan Soto, I think, might have the 2 longest Citi Field home runs. That thing went over Shea Bridge. It was crazy. But after that, clean, spotless outing, which is more than you can ask for.
Yeah, I mean he's not getting strikeouts at all. Like I think he has 3 his last 2 starts each.
Yeah. But he's playing into his great defense.
Absolutely. Like I like his approach that he's had, and I think those things will come. But again, like I for the same kind of confident or the same points that I made in Peterson, I felt the same way about what McGill brought to the plate. Loved his composure on the mound. I loved the way he reset himself after the big home run and just went, all right, well, now it's 2-0. Do what I got to do now. I'm like, just very impressed. Big steps forward.
Definitely agree. I think the fan in me was a little disappointed to not see him get the 6th inning, but I think ultimately smart decision. Don't let him go through that lineup again. I think take him out with what he's given you, a clean line there, and trust your bullpen. A bullpen that was really, really good in this series, man. I mean, we talked about the high 5 and the PPPs, which went on to age poorly, but the Fantastic Four looked good, man. Smith, Raley, Robertson, Ottavino got it done twice in 2 massive wins. The third game definitely was scarier. The first game, they looked utterly dominant, but a lot to like for the Mets bullpen, even with, kind of a shorthanded staff.
Yeah. They look great. I mean, Drew Smith is still kind of walking people and sporadically putting guys on. I think
and those fastballs down the middle are scaring me.
They are scary because that's been his downfall, has been the home run ball, because when you throw that 4-seamer, if it's not here, it's very hittable when it's down. But he's putting up zeros, and Raley has been like untouchable and then giving it up. He looked good this series, and then Robertson and Ottavino.
Robertson's incredible, man.
Yeah,
something about Ottavino's 2-seam looks awesome.
It's a new
I don't know.
weapon.
Does it look different? Like it looks so good.
This is the beautiful part about pitching and baseball, and you're never done learning.
Yeah.
And he's constantly trying to get better. And this is his 2-seam's always been a weapon, but the way he's used it to perfection lately. Like a right-handed hitters here in the
Yeah.
batter's box, they're sitting slider. So anything that starts here, they know it's going to break off the plate away. So they're looking close. Well, he gets ahead, gets 2 strikes, throws that slider that goes way away. They take it. Well, then he starts a pitch here, and they're like, that's a ball away for sure. And then all of a sudden it takes a right turn towards the plate. And it's just beautiful pitching. On top of that, changeup is a weapon too that he doesn't use very much. I think he's gonna get comfortable with that. Him and Robertson have been breaths of fresh air.
Yeah.
They're throwing a lot, but that's what happens when you have a winning ball club, because your positive, your high leverage guys got to throw. But John Curtis is going to get some big innings.
Yeah,
he's looked really good. Nogosek has thrown some big time innings, maybe not high leverage, but he's done it. He's carried his weight. So hopefully some of the rotation guys get a little deeper, so these guys don't have to work as often. But
yeah.
they've done their part so far.
That's the next step, I think, because part of the equation is, well, when can we start getting 6 and 7 instead of 5 and 6 from the starters? Because that 1 inning a game will add up over time. I will say I love the way Buck has deployed the D-Rob and Otto platoon. I think he used Robertson in the perfect spot today to get those 4 outs in the 7th and 8th. I don't think you want to wait for him and use him in the 9th and just let Otto eat up in the 9th inning. Same thing with game 1. I think they used him I fully believe he's our 9th inning guy if the lineup turns over the right way, but you use him in the spot where he's most applicable, and that just happened to be the setup role in both of those games. My only real gripe with the bullpen thing was the Dennis Santana in the 9th inning, and I know you don't have a ton of options. You want to leave yourself the Curtis option if he pitches in the 3rd game, but I would have liked to see John Curtis in that spot. It's a tough ask for Dennis Santana.
Tweet was perfect.
It was just it was a crazy. I could have told you what was going to happen. Dennis Santana against Xander Bogaerts is crazy.
Because it was crazy.
It was crazy.
You have the highest payroll in baseball, and you're in a big leverage situation in the 9th
in a winnable game.
And a series winner could have been. It is bananas to see him there. But this is baseball, dude. You play every day. It's not like, once a week like football. Sometimes you're going to have your guys step up. So,
yeah, and it's easy to tweet about the manager decisions when you're not in the dugout for sure. It's a tough spot for Dennis Santana. They're asking a lot of him for a guy that came on, a week before the season started.
He's been good too, by the way.
He's been fine, yeah. But that home run I saw coming from country mile away.
You tweeted it, and I was thinking it, and I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I was trying to think about. It's hilarious.
And that's I think that's baseball, because if the Mets go on to lose the series finale, I think that's a moment that gets talked about a lot more. Instead, we're all going to forget about it in 2 days. And that's just how it goes. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
That's the beauty of what Buck Showalter brings to the table. He doesn't panic. Not every game is game 7.
Yep.
I've been around a lot of managers that throw your closer in that situation, no matter what, and burn it. And then in June and July, your high leverage guys are burned out. Buck has a clue. They're in communication. They know how every guy feels, and they're willing to roll the dice on a guy that might get the job done, to understand that over the next 3 weeks, you have your guy's still healthy. So
yeah. And I mean, it was something he was so good at last year that I have full confidence he'll be great at it again this year, in a more precarious situation for sure, but so far so good, honestly.
Good use of precarious. I like that.
You like that? Yeah, I'm on my game at 11:30 p.m. at night. How about it?
I'm so tired. Do I look tired?
No, I can't even tell.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's late now.
All right, let's quickly get through the not so good of this series, because there is talking points to be had here. The Eduardo Escobar conversation will be ongoing for sure, but it was another tough series for him. Had a couple RBI, but ultimately not a great series from him. Mark Canha didn't look great out of the 5-hole, which I think is cause for concern, because somebody's got to fit in there, especially against left-handed pitching when you don't have Vogie. We didn't see Vogie much this series because we keep getting so many lefties early in the season. Hopefully we can get his bat back in the lineup against Oakland. And then Francisco Alvarez got a start in this series. Looked a little overmatched in that game too, especially in that last at bat where I think the moment got a little big. What's the biggest cause of concern for you right now when you're looking at that Mets lineup?
Uh, a multitude. It's the 5 spot. Canada doesn't
Yeah.
look comfortable right now, so he can't hit behind Pete because they're going to walk him 1,000 times. And Eduardo Escobar, what do you do? Like I love him, and I've been rooting for him. You and I both. But all the metrics don't look great. The X to
No.
velos. It's tough because Beatty's playing so well. So a lot of the chatter that I've heard so far went from, is Beatty ready? No, no, let's wait. And now it's like, we'll see. And so the narrative has started to change. So is Escobar out of time? I don't think so. But if we're looking at, the sand, it's
Mm,
thin.
the
It's thin.
hourglass.
So
Yeah.
the hour, that's the word. Thanks. The hourglass is on its last leg. So he either needs to put together some good games here, or it might be mentor time.
Yeah, I mean, Beatty, Vientos, and Mauricio all batting over 300, all with more than 3 home runs in AAA right now. Any of them could realistically get a call, and I think Mets fans would be satisfied with it. Yeah, man, leash is short. I don't think that same leash applies to Mark Canha, although, that was a tough series for him. I think he's much more suited for that 7 hole where he was most of last season. And McNeil looked good in the 5 hole. I think you just can't really put him there against lefties, but yeah, the Mets have some questions they got to answer. The one that is going to, stay answered, even if the Mets aren't comfortable with it, is Francisco Alvarez. I mean, you don't really have another option outside of him right now, and you kind of need to just let him figure it out. And I don't know if I would have played him in Game 3, but I do feel like going 0 for 4, striking out to end the game, then getting benched the next day probably wasn't an awesome morale booster for your top prospect. But, again, it's a tough situation. You got to figure out ways to put him in spots to succeed and also give him the playing time that he needs.
On Canna, I agree. There's no, he has no, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Nor should he. Escobar, it's definitely on, close to that. But Alvarez, for me, he needs I want to talk to him about his approach, because a pitcher like me, seeing the way he's going about it, I would chew him up every time because I'm not
Mm,
going to give him strikes. I'm
right.
gonna he wants to make things happen so much, and it's the opposite of how controlled Pete Alonso is right now. He's letting the pitchers come to him, especially in those situations where Hader didn't look great.
Mm,
If you make Hader throw strikes in that position, he's still Josh Hader. You still might strike out because he's one of the nastiest pitchers in the game. And it's not a great matchup because of the high velo. But if you make him throw a strike, if you make him come to you, I think that would change a lot for him to realize that, you don't have to swing 3 times. Like
yeah.
you can take a strike and be okay, work a count, and trust that you know what you're doing instead of trying to force the issue. So I think he's just trying too hard, which is
Yeah.
stupid to say and silly concept, but he's trying to make things happen versus letting baseball and his skill set happen.
I mean, 5 strikeouts in 8 plate appearances kind of tells that story for you. I mean, it is just pressing at the plate, trying to make a moment happen. I'm hoping that he'll get some playing time in this A series coming up with a few pitchers that don't have great numbers on the year so far, get his confidence up, and then move forward from there.
Yeah, either you play him regularly or you send him down, bring
Yeah.
somebody else up. Like it's that simple for me. I love Nito and I love what he brings to the table. I think every time he's starting, think we're gonna win too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but Alvarez could be a difference maker, and if he ends up being the player, like if he jumpstarts his career at 21, what a weapon! He becomes the guy that bats fifth behind Pete Alonso.
Yeah. And then the
He
Mets look like
becomes
geniuses.
Yeah, but it could be Beatty. Who knows? Like it's pressure, but if you have him here, he needs to play.
You want to talk some apple of our eye?
I
I
do.
want to talk about good stat lines. Enough of the
Good,
bad
me
stuff.
too.
Good
Yeah, I
stat
mean this
lines.
was a good series, man. So the apple of our eye.
I think I'm going to take first this time. I've been letting you go first too much.
Okay, you go first.
I'm letting you go first. But there is a lot to choose from. I mean, I mentioned Lindor's great stat line before. I think 6 strikeouts takes him out of the running for me personally. I am going to go ahead and give the apple of my eye. I'm going to give it to Brandon Nimmo, I think. Might be a little shocker because there's a lot of good to choose from. 2 good starts in this series. Pete Alonso did it again. Pete Alonso is going to get a lot of apples this year. I think we can kind of comfortably say that. But Brandon Nimmo, nice little 4 for 11, 2 runs, a double, 2 RBI, 2 walks, and a stolen base. Played in all 3 games of this series. 2 of them were against left-handed pitching. He's been great against left-handed pitching. I don't think that split kind of deters him at all, and he's been doing everything in the field, still playing a sharp center field. We mentioned the stolen base dimension of his game kind of adding to everything. He looks comfortable out there, and he's another guy that's taking his walks when they come to him and coming up in big spots where the Mets clearly need big hits. I mean, I go back to that, I think it was the 3rd or 4th bases loaded where the Mets were about to not score. Him coming through that insurance, it kind of just was, a breath of fresh air, a relief for everybody who was worried about another Mets rally getting squandered because the runner and scoring position numbers have been very poor so far this year. But Brandon Nimmo, in the spots where he's getting opportunities, is getting it done. Nice slash line for him and very deserving of his first apple of the year.
Well deserved. He's in my running. He was the first runner up for me.
Okay. That makes me feel good.
You didn't put the bullpen in the apple possibilities, but they had a great one. But me, it came down to 2 people. One was Brandon Nimmo, and you picked him. The other for me is Pete Alonso.
Hell yeah.
Pete Alonso.
Hell yeah.
Probably should have won one last week or last series, but he went 3 for 10, 3 runs scored, a home run, an RBI, 2 walks. He's just carrying the power load in the lineup, playing every day. He like his approach at the plate, for as much as I would take advantage of how Francisco Alvarez is, I would be very hyper aware of facing Pete Alonso with how he looks right now. I'm not giving him anything close to swinging. I'm going to walk him, and he's going to walk. He's going to take it. And I'm going to probably throw 2 pitches, and then I'm going to just not even throw the next 2. I'm going to be like, all right, that's the automatic, that's how locked in he is. And the ball he hit today, I crushed. Nuke. Simple swing. Compact. I don't care what comm issues you were having. He nuked it. So Pete Alonso's the apple of my eye.
We couldn't snub him in back-to-back
series. He's probably going to steal a base, so we'll see.
Yeah, we're still waiting for number 1 on the year. Everyone's getting their swipes in.
He took one in Tampa in spring training, and I was like, oh, you might want to hold on to that one. Don't let Buck see it until you do it.
Nah, he's due. He's due at this point. Yeah, I mean,
shout out to Tommy Pham too, by the way.
Tommy Pham had a nice series. Yeah,
let's
give him some
quietly. I think a lot of people, including us, were sketchy. Not sketchy,
we slept on him.
Iffy on the signing. Terrible spring, both in the field and at the plate, and we were like, "Oh, we were right. This might not have been the best sign."
Patting ourselves on the back.
Yeah. Then he's said, "Guess what, guys? I might force my way into this lineup a lot more often than you think." So
I'm happy to be wrong.
Yeah, me too. He's been good.
Yeah, 3 for 7, 2 RBI, walk, stolen base, run. Kind of everything you can ask for from a guy in that 7 hole. Just get your singles, come up big, and runners in scoring position spots and help the team win. That's exactly what he did. Plus, he looks fine in center field in the times that I've seen him out there. Looks okay.
Fine. I'll take fine. He looks fine. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of great slash lines from that series. Jeff McNeil also did great. 2 for 8, a double, 2 RBI, 4 walks in 3-game series.
That's unheard of, by the way. That's crazy. That's a note. That's unheard of. I don't know. He has as many multi-walk games this year as he did all of last year. And we're how many games in?
We are 13 games into this young
season. And he already has the same amount of multi-walk games.
Maybe he's going to put up that 400 on base like Nimmo does. I don't know, man.
He's got it.
He hasn't even really started hitting yet. I know he's going to start going and just start slapping. Hasn't started yet. It will happen, though. Yeah.
McNeil slaps. You heard it
Oh,
here.
yeah. You heard it here first. Yeah, Pete Alonso, though, ridiculous. 6 home runs in 13 games. Nuts. Like, that's just an
Nuts.
absurd number. Absolutely absurd. And I'm hoping we get a couple more bombs when we venture down to the Coliseum to go play the Oakland Days. Jerry Blevins' Oakland Days. You ready for this?
I am ready. We are traveling out west to take on the Oakland Days of the Bay Area legends themselves, hopefully for the long term. Game one, we thought we would see two Japanese superstars battling each other, but Kodai Senga decided he wants to toe the rubber on that day. He's 2-0 with a 1.59. Shintaro Fujinami, he's not getting the nod in game one. He'll be in game two, but taking his place is James Caprillion, friend of the company,
Hell
who's
yeah.
0-1 with 11.17 ERA. Hasn't had his great start, was a big-time prospect for the New York Yankees, came over, been injury-riddled, had a really good year last year, but hasn't had a great start. Neither team has faced each other, so faced these starters, so there's no history there. Senga allowed just 1 run, struck out 6 or more in both his starts versus Miami, and Caprillion has allowed 4 home runs and 9 2/3. So maybe that's a recipe to get some of this offense started. That's game one. Game two, Cookie Carrasco in dire need of a bounce back. He's 0-2 with 11.5, going against the aforementioned Shintaro Fujinami, who's 0-2 with a 17.5. He also needs to show himself. Jesus Aguilar, you guys might remember him from Miami and every other place. He's playing first base for these guys a lot. He's 5 for 13 off of Cookie. Tony Kemp, the leadoff man, one of my favorite players, playing for the A's. He's 3 for 7 with a homer off Cookie. The opposing teams have combined for 24 runs in 2 games started by Fujinami. That is a lot of runs, hence the 17.5 ERA. Neither starter has completed 5 innings in the start yet this season. So who will bounce back first? Both? One? Maybe none? We'll see. That's game two. Game three, Max Scherzer coming off his best start of the year against the Padres. He's 2-1 with a 4.41 ERA. He's going against J.P. Sears, the lefty, who's 0-1 with a 5.59. Jace Peterson of Atlanta, I want to say he played for Atlanta for a minute.
Yeah, I think so.
Milwaukee as well. He's 5 for 27 off Scherzer with 10 Ks. That's, I think, a number he'll take, but still not beautiful. Escobar, 2 for 2. Lindor, 2 for 3, both with 2 RBI against Sears. And Sears has allowed 3 home runs in 9 2/3. So a lot of homers to be had if you're facing it. That's games 1, 2, and 3 coming from Oakland.
Very nice. Very nice. Jerry, you never want to go into a series and demand that a team win every game. But I mean, is this the closest to a should sweep as we can get?
This is a fact. This is an absolute fact. And I never say this because it's
you
so
really
hard to
don't.
Win. I don't say this. This should be a sweep, and it should be a convincing sweep.
Yes.
I mean, this team is not. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you got 3 pitchers that are ERAs above 10 and 5. You're coming off your biggest series win of the year. You got Kodai and Max Scherzer on the bump for 2 of these games. I got a big circle on for game 2. I'm circling that one. I need Cookie to have a good start. But this feels like walk into Oakland in a quiet stadium and win every game and really kick off the West Coast road trip. That's going to get a lot tougher after that.
Yeah, this is a team that you should mop the floor with. Like, these are my 2 loves. It's hard for me to say, but they are a very subpar team, top to bottom. They have some good players. They might be on the move too, but they traded. They're doing, major league, man. The movie plot is what's happening right now in Oakland. It's should sweep. This is a should sweep, and I never say that. You need to win a series, especially on the road, especially traveling to the West Coast is always hard. But they got a day off, and they need to take at least 2. But this should be. I would be a little disappointed without sweeping this team.
I agree. I'm really excited to see Kodai Senga because we know that his shakiest innings came because of the crowd. I'm not expecting a big crowd for this game 1 start in Oakland. I'm very curious to see how comfortable he is and how good he can be against this lineup. Cookie Carrasco, need him to toss some sort of quality outing here, whether it's 5 innings pitched, just getting through the lineup twice and giving a chance to get his first win of the season. Hoping that can come together. But yeah, I mean, across the board, these are going to be late night watches for me. Hopefully they'll be boring by the end because the Mets will be up by a lot of runs.
This will be a weekend series too. So I don't know. I don't have, as far as attendance goes, I don't have expectations. I think the A's, I've been there when they've shown out plenty of times, but it's hard to be a fan in Oakland right now, especially, with the product they're putting on the field. But yeah, this is going to be a late one for me, doing pre and post game all for this series. Post game, I'm going to be getting home real late. My boys are going to want to wake me up super early to play, which I'll happily do. But West Coast games have a new feel for me now in my post game career, because being on the East Coast, it's late. So you better tune in.
Yeah, I need to defeat the Mr. Sleep Guy allegations. After that 13-12 game last year, I have not I slept through Carlos Correa. You remember that? We were both asleep for that. We got a lot to prove this weekend, Jerry.
Well, I'll be on video and proof. So
there you go. Love that. But yeah, I think that does it for our little episode of Shea Station here. Mets get a big series win. Hopefully they keep the good times rolling. Long West Coast trip coming up. We got Dodgers and Giants after this Oakland series. So let's start hot, get a few wins, and go finish up the job, man.
Let's do it. Enjoy the off day and get back to work.
Let's go Mets. We'll see you guys soon.
Let's go Mets.